virtual.
We'll see how well all of this works tonight. Tyrrel, you're kind of cutting in and out a little bit, so.
Oh, am I? Okay. Well, I apologize.
Like.
Hopefully. I hope it's not that bad. That sounded pretty rough. I hope I'm not that bad. That's pretty crazy. A little bit of robot going on. Okay. So, well, okay. All right. So that's not too bad. I'm in North Carolina, and we've got some weather issues going down here. So hopefully it'll be nice to us, and our service provider will be a little reliable tonight. Yeah. Right. Fingers crossed. Hopefully. It's like, you get a light shower and everything goes to pot around here. But hopefully, they'll be on their job today and we can get this thing done and everybody feel good about themselves at the end of it. I don't want to catch anybody. I don't want anybody to catch me fussing at my screen here.
Don't do that.
But anyway, yeah, don't do that. Yeah. So, Mark, I was really interested. So first off, before we get started, like I said, I just wanted to thank you for being here. And I wanted to go ahead and just kind of read your introduction and introduce people to you and what you do, and then we'll get into more of your story because I love what I see and I'm excited about this. But in starting, for those of you that don't know Mark, he's a phenom. He's a psychotherapist, and his private practice. He owns a practice that aims to promote freedom and choice for his clients. And he talks about wake up and get free. So he specializes in working with addictions, grief, and social anxiety. Prior to entering private practice, he worked at Rangeview Counseling Center, a substance abuse treatment center that focuses on clients with legal troubles. And he was blown away by the dedication and passion that his clients had for the work. He witnessed countless acts of compassion and healing. And prior to that, he worked at Halcyon Hospice and at the Wild Plum Center, a therapeutic preschool. Spending time with children and the dying opened his eyes to the breadth of human experience. And his goal is to help clients recognize how to care for themselves in mind, body, and spirit, and to develop a playful curiosity towards their internal experience because they deserve it. So, Mark, once again, welcome, man. This is great, man. I'm so excited because I had a chance, of course, to look at some of the things that you're doing. I had a chance to look at your website, and just as a fan of science fiction and fantasy, man, I'm telling you, the way you frame the journey of your clients, man, just sounds like a wonderful movie, man. Sounds like a great story, and so that begs the question for me. I love theater, and so it was that something that you intentionally did, or is that something that just happened, where you framed it like a good movie?
I'm a huge science fiction fantasy nerd too, so that's where that all comes from.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy that you could pick that out. Like even the imagery that I use, like the language that I use, it's all from just reading books, now and as a kid. I tend to frame it as kind of this like hero journey type of thing, because it can be exciting. I mean, therapy doesn't have to be boring. Man. It actually can be very exciting and a very mystical process.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, as you're talking about the stigma of mental health. So first off, okay, you deal with psychotherapy. You're a psychotherapist, so you have clients. Of course, that the quote unquote normal people might look at them, and there's a stigma associated with them, and there's probably not a lot of positivity that you see around the industry of psychotherapy. So what kind of stigmas do you see out there?
I guess the one that's closer is the addiction stigma. So it's people that really have judgments of people who struggle with addiction. The term addict. This a lot of othering of people are too weak to handle their drugs or handle their drinking, right? You hear all the time. It's I don't have a drinking problem. I can handle that, but maybe you can't, right? People say that stuff all the time. Or if you're a drug addict, you're on the side of the road, shooting up or doing things like that. It's such a major put down. And what happens for a lot of my clients that are struggling with addiction is that their families end up isolating them. Their friends and families don't know how to relate, don't know what's actually helpful, and end up isolating them, which leads to more use. If you're alone and you have nothing to do, that's what you're going to turn to. You're going to try to cope with those feelings. So that's the big one. But one that I see also is I still do work in the court system. I actually opened up my own agency where I do class for people that get DUIs. And just the whole, again, the criminal label, like, again, this othering motion of like, get away, you're something else. People that are going through the court system get pushed away. And again, they don't get access to the help that they need. And the problem, like, it's okay if the society does it, right? Like, well, it's not okay, it sucks, but like, it's understandable. The problem is that a lot of the treatment providers do it too. All the treatment providers, like behind closed doors, will talk about like how the piece of shit asshole client, you know, or like, I hate when this guy comes in, like he's such a jerk, you know, like, and they'll say this, like, you know, just like if you work in a restaurant, you talk shit on your clients, you do it there. But I've seen it in the mental health treatment system, and that disgusts me, like straight up disgusts me, because yeah, we may have reactions, but our ethical duty is to refer that person out, right? If we can't work with them, we should help them find somebody who they can work with. So when this stigma really encroaches on the providers, then we have a real systemic problem, where even people that are supposed to be helpful, the people who are paid to be helpful, are holding these stigmas really deep, and that's gross. It's just really gross.
That's terrible, man. Because if you're there, and these are the people that are supposed to help you, you know, the people that are supposed to understand you, the people that are supposed to be able to help you think through a certain situation in a certain circumstance, and you know that's the way, that's their perception of you. You know, what can you expect to get? I mean, out of life,
like,
what's your help?
What chance do you have if the person supposed to help you can't even, doesn't even want to, right? Or holds their own judgments.
Wow, that is terrible. So now you, as the passionate one about, you know, helping people, you that are really concerned about, of course, you have to be very empathetic and very compassionate and understanding the plight of the client that you're helping, and you see all of this around you. What do you do, man?
To help people? What are you asking? Like, yeah.
Oh, did I cut out? Okay. All right. Here we go. So my question is, though, as you're surrounded by all of this, and you're the one that's very compassionate and very empathetic about the clients and the help that they're supposed to receive. What do you do? How do you deal with all of that?
A couple things. The first, self-care is really important. So like, I have a yoga practice. I do that every day. That's one of the most important things to me, is just putting things physically like out of me. Because sometimes I'll hear something really intense and it'll be in my body. I mean, it's kind of a, you know, I'm in Boulder, so it's kind of like a hippie way to think about it, but I can feel like the energy of people sometimes, or I can feel like a lot of tension or trauma. So being able to physically exercise and get it out is huge. But mainly what it comes up, it's like, it's in my practice of just listening to people and hearing people. I have this firm belief. I went to a Buddhist university, and this is actually a concept from Buddhism, where with enough vulnerability, compassion arises. So if somebody opens up enough, you'll fall in love with them, like guaranteed. And I have been proven wrong with that. I mean, that's happened with almost all of my clients. Is like, if people really show me who they are, why would I want to step on that person? Why would I want to step on that little injured part or that little vulnerable part? That's something that should be cherished and something that grows. So really trying to see my clients as full people and seeing them for the wounds that they carry, not the damage that they do, is kind of the idea.
Yeah. And I guess that does, when you humanize, and it's not even a matter of humanizing people, because they are humans, but you really open up and, it's like humanizing, right? No, they're humans. But when you actually take the chance or take the time to get to know the person, you know, and I imagine a lot of time as a medical professional or somebody in that industry, you know, you have a tendency to want to distance yourself, and they tell you, you know, it's kind of like that nurse who is taking care of patients, and people pass away. And so over time, they get sick of connecting with people. So they start to distance themselves from people so it doesn't bother them as much. But I guess that's part of the issue, you know, that where you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. You have to allow yourself to know people, even though it's a tough relationship. You know, and the way you met is tough, but you can't be afraid of connecting with people, because that's how you care for them,
and it takes
right?
that. I teach a death example because when I worked in hospice, I saw that a lot, and it takes that humility aspect of, like, you know, you're not going to save someone. If you're in hospice, right? Everyone there is there for one reason. It's like they're going to die. Like, it's going to end. So it's like, what role can I play on their journey, right? Like, can I make their last month better? Cool. You know, or some struggling with addiction. Like, can I make these next 3 months more bearable? Cool. Like, that's all I can really do. And that's a struggle for a lot of people. I think, you know, I know in your business too, in marketing and trying to get out there, very outcome oriented. And a lot of the wisdom is letting go of that outcome and just being there for the process of like, we're just going to do what we're doing right now. And that's all we can do. And that's hard. I mean, that's a hard thing to do. It's a constant practice for me.
It is.
Of course I want to jump to the end, or I have some idea of where a client should be or what their life should be like. But who am I to say that? You know, who am I to say what their life is like? I'm almost honored just to be a part of where they are right now at this point.
Wow. That's phenomenal, man. A lot of times we will have our own ideas of where we want a person to end up or what we want a person to do based on, you know, our own path, you know, or we're teaching someone out of our own experience, regardless of whether their situation is the same or not. You know, we're trying to guide them based on, you know, maybe some challenges we've had in our past, and it's a huge challenge to just say, what are you trying to get out of life, and how can I help you? And be honest in that, and allow them to tell you, and you help them on their journey instead of you trying to pull them into your journey.
Yeah, it's like letting go of your own bullshit.
You cannot be selfish at all.
Yeah,
you have to give a little bit and actually leave a little room to be receptive of what they're telling you and see what you can do for them. So you can't be in any kind of business like that and be selfish. Like, that's just not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't work. I mean, that's what they're paying me for. Like, they're paying me to get out of my own way and to be with them. That's why there's money exchanged. That's why therapy is different than friendship, right? Because friends, we're allowed to be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. Or like, you know, that's a bad idea. Like, I wouldn't do that. But in therapy, it's like the money is so I can actually get out of the way. So it's all about them and all about what they want.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
So how do you? It is cool. How do you? Okay, so you're the psychotherapist. You're out there talking about your services, and you're saying, "Hey, come visit me. I'm a psychotherapist. I can help you. You know, get to where you want to in life." and you're like this. You're like the plastic surgeon in Hollywood that everyone wants to use, but no one wants to tell you that. You know, no one wants to speak of you. You know, and so and ending the stigma of mental health, and as you're out there even talking about what you do, how do you break down the defense? How do you break down the walls and have people accept what you do, and kind of change their perception of what you do?
You know, doing things like this, getting out on social media, like really, and trying to heal myself, doing my own stuff, and being really transparent about my own process of like, look, I go through these things too. Everybody goes through these things. Let's do it together. Like, we don't have to pretend like this shit isn't happening. You know, we don't have to pretend like we don't struggle. We don't have to pretend like we don't have low moments. The problem comes when everyone tries to be perfect and pretend there's no issue. But yeah, that's the issue. I mean, that's what kind of prompted me to get on this show, is the idea that like, if us as clinicians, if we don't advertise, if we don't market, if we don't say that we have value, our clients don't even want to say that they're in therapy, because people are like, oh yeah, I guess you're just crazy then, or I guess you're pretty messed up if you're in therapy. People think this, but what I would want and what I would hope for is for me and another community therapist to be like, yeah, I got that guy as my therapist. That's awesome. I'm really doing something good for myself. I'm really like trying to be the best person I can be. You know, like, you should join it too. You should all get on this trip, you know?
Yeah, it's like, what's wrong with that? Somebody is trying to get better, trying to be, you know, their best self. And I don't think that's proper English, any bit of that. Anyway,
I'm with you.
But, you know, it's like, what's wrong with that? Like, why? I'm not sure why that's an issue, or why people feel the need to get down on other people because they're trying to better themselves. And what I love about you, Mark, is that you said, you know, that you share a little bit of yourself with them. You let them know that, like, hey, look, sometimes I'm, you know, down. Sometimes I feel this way, or, you know, and I think that so many people are fearful of opening up like that, but they don't realize that in doing that, it's helping their clients, but it's also helping you, you know?
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I get that. And I just think that's really admirable that you allow yourself to be open in that way, because people need to know that. They need to know that I'm not just crazy, like, well, okay, some people are, but I mean, that they know that everybody experiences things that they don't like about themselves, or, that kind of makes them feel as though they're crazy. Like, we all do that,
Everyone does it. Everyone's got weird moments.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah. But I love that. I love that you allow yourself to, share, at least even just a little bit can be so helpful to someone, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember a time where, now I don't know how old you guys are. Well, I know how old Gene is, but Mark, I don't want to presume how old you are, but I remember there used to be a time, it's kind of like Hollywood, like, oh, everybody has a therapist. Like, you go see my therapist, and it wasn't such, it didn't seem like it was such a bad thing. And it was almost like a badge of honor. Yeah, the wealthy people have therapists. Yeah, we go to therapists. That's what we do. But I don't see that much anymore. It seems more, though it is a negative thing, if you have a therapist, if you're going to talk to someone, but even though, like you both said, most people, if not everyone, has those, strange moments, and probably everyone at some point needs to have a therapist in their life where they can, where they can get some help with some things. But it doesn't seem like I hear about it as much as anymore as I used to. But Mark, do you think it's very possible that everybody needs a therapist?
I think everyone can benefit from therapy. Like, and that's kind of like the shift that I want, is moving from like a survival mode, like a functioning mode, to a thriving mode. I think a therapist can be the best version of yourself. Like, so I don't know if you need one. You can get by on life and function without a therapist. That's totally fine. You're probably going to be totally like great, like a solid B. But if you want to be like an A or an A plus, having someone else to bounce ideas off of, or having a place where you can feel like you're yourself, or having a place that's free of judgment from the world. In our crazy freaking judgmental culture, having one place an hour a week where you're not judged professionally is actually pretty healing, And for those we're calling like acute moments in life, like, if someone dies, a passing of a parent, or God forbid a child, or a chronic disease, or even moving to a new place can be very hard. All these things, struggling with addiction, struggling with a big fight, going in relationships, like even like one of my friends had an idea that and I'm really inspired by him. When he got engaged, they entered couples therapy. He was like, look, we're about to start like a year, lifetime relationship with this other person. Let's really discover some things about each other, discover some things about our relationship before it becomes a problem. Let's just go in and talk about ourselves and talk about each other. So this marriage is going to be way stronger going into it. So things like that, like even for those like little events, can be really helpful to hire a professional who has the experience and has the knowledge to guide you through really stressful transitions, stressful situations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's also, it's more like strategic planning. It's almost like it's pre-planning. If you look at it in the right light, it's definitely a benefit to help you with tough parts of life. And if you're smart, you can use it to your advantage and make your life better, man. That's phenomenal. Yeah. That is phenomenal. Do you find yourself, now you're in the business of helping people, and you put yourself out there and you take on so many not problems, you take on so many challenges from other people and so many issues. Do you find that you personally are is it more of a weight on you to help other people, or has it actually helped you become a better person by?
Yeah, I think kind of what Gene was saying. Like, I have grown. There's some sessions where I learn more than my clients do, and I'll tell them that. I'll be like, "Wow, man, you really inspired me," or like, "That was really cool. Like, it was really amazing to see that." So a lot of times with that, and then with support, like I have a therapist. I've been in therapy for 8 years, and I will probably have one for the rest of my life. I'm biased because I made it my life, but I like that's a big support for me too. Also having a supervisor, being in supervision groups, I get a lot of support around the emotional stuff because I still am a pretty new therapist. I've only been doing this for about 4 years, So I get a lot of supervision from other professionals to make sure that I don't take that stuff on, and to make sure I'm doing the highest quality treatment that I can. But yeah, a lot of times I get inspired by them. It's great.
Is that something that's normal? And I hear you saying that you have to make sure, obviously, as you're helping others. Yeah.
Oh, you're kind of breaking up a little bit there. Oh. Uh-oh.
You're grounded in that.
Hello? Oh. Maybe it's just me now.
There you go. Yay. All right. So yeah, dude, man, I'm telling you, man, we got this storm going on here. So I apologize, but we had our whole system reset over here.
Okay.
But you can hear me fine now, right?
Fine. Yeah, you're good.
All right, good. Looks like we're back. So I was actually just asking about just the industry. And so because you take on a lot of stuff and because you're dealing with so much as it relates to clients, is it something in the industry where they make it highly recommended, if not mandatory, that you have someone that you can talk to? You actually have a therapist that you can get a release from, and you can make sure that you're mentally and emotionally grounded? Is that something that they make sure, is that a requirement?
It's required early on when you're going for licensure. So when you're like, so our industry is kind of like an apprenticeship phase. So after you graduate, you have to get licensure, which takes about 2 to 4 years, where you're working underneath someone's license. And then they're supervising you pretty directly. And then once you get your own license, then the requirement's gone. You don't have to do it. I know. I know. You have to do continuing education, at least in the state of Colorado. If you have to do continuing education, where you have to, go to workshops, go to trainings, do things like that. But supervision isn't actually required unless you want to go for a higher license or a different license. A lot of agencies do provide supervision, but they're kind of notoriously bad. They're like, wow, burnt out, or there's really big groups, or if you don't get all the time you need, or it's really rushed. So yeah, it's really not industry standard, and it's something that, again, I wish was. Because my job and some of your job, Mark, like our jobs are life, or like our job is like how to be effective in life, and you never like max out at that. You never really get the best at life. So having continuous supervision and training is really important to get there.
Wow, that's amazing, and I guess it makes sense. I'm looking at your posters in the back, and you've got some great sci-fi things happening back there. Yeah,
those are actually those are
paintings.
Yeah, those are paintings.
Those are paintings that you did?
Yeah. This is
Get out of here.
Gallery back there. Yeah.
Oh man, I was gonna ask you about some of your. Well, I was asking. I thought they were posters, but now I guess I can ask you about some of your paintings. So now that yeah, you have. So that's one of your outlets, of course. Man, those are awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Those are neat. Yeah, I'm back to you, but I'm looking like that one right over your right shoulder. Yeah, that guy right there. Tell me about that guy, man. What is that? That's neat.
Yeah, that's like this little guy being pulled by heaven and pulled by hell, being torn in two directions. And it's like that was actually kind of was me in college. He's kind of like represented by headphones. I'm in recovery, so I have my own addiction thing going on. And that's the story of that, actually. So it's a little guy who's tuned out of the world, but getting pulled in these different directions. And I use art primarily to help express like myself beyond speaking. It's kind of therapeutic for me to be able to like put at least a visual to things that are going on inside. So some of these were done in college, some of these were done in graduate school. They're all over my house. So.
Wow. So that is cool, man. So, I'm saying that because we're fans of theater. I say we as in Gene and I. We're fans of art. We're fans of music, and I think that is phenomenal because I know artistically you can express yourself in a way that a lot of times you can't verbalize. And to be able to be able to order try to attempt to take what's inside your head and get it out, that can be a huge benefit, to be able to do that. And I think that is phenomenal. So here's a question. I am recording, Gene. Thank you. I did start it again. It says pause recording on my screen. Okay. All right. Yeah, so that's good. So my question was, okay, so you mentioned briefly, and I don't want to dig too far into it, but you mentioned your own path of recovery. So was that something that pushed you towards going into psychotherapy, or was that something that you were dealing with in your journey, or as you already started the path of psychotherapy?
Yeah, so therapy saved my life. So that's why I decided to get into it. It was a really beneficial thing for me. Yeah, so it was a really tough time in my life, and going to that, like my life was gonna be a terminal endpoint. Like I was gonna either die or overdose, and going to therapy really helped me learn about who I was and get the help that I needed. So it's helped me kind of cement myself that, okay, this process works, and then I wanted to go study it. But also what really helped me do is it really helped me realize how long it is and how kind of like slow it is. My journey of recovery has been like 8 years, this whole thing with sobriety. It's like, okay, just quit cold turkey and you're done. Like, that's not really how that works, and like with any habit, I mean, not just drugs and alcohol, but like any habit, it's like, it's going to be, maybe you'll stop, like, I'll use drugs because I know it. It's like you'll stop one drug and then do another one. You'll just replace it with something else, or you'll just not use for a while and then relapse, and all that's normal. And all that, should be normalized. Like, that's what it takes to change. It's like a lot of ups and downs and a lot of weird moments and a lot of like difficult emotions. So by going through that myself, I feel like I can understand my clients in a way. And I have that humility for my clients.
Absolutely.
Because in that path, there were so many people, and to this day, I'm really still blown away by the gratitude that I have. There's so many people that played even tiny little roles that got me to where I am now. People that like I don't even remember, people who like, that just the person on the street or the person behind the counter, like stuff that like said that one thing that stuck with me. But for me, therapy was that one place that had that consistency, where I would come in, I would process all those little messages that were coming in about my life. So
wow,
that's amazing.
Wow, that's
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it really is.
Now,
some people would hide, from that, like. They would recover and be living in recovery, but they wouldn't go as far as you did and say, you know what, this is really helping me, and so I'm going to do this for other people. And it's not that, the people who don't, it's not that they're terrible or anything, so I don't want to mean it in that way, but I just say you're amazing because you're one of those people who was able to turn that around. And, did you think 8 years ago that your life would be where it is now?
No, I thought it'd be drugs and orgies. And like,
yeah, seriously.
Sobriety and capitalism. So.
Well, you're being honest, hey. But I love that. I love that. And the fact that you can smile and laugh about it even is, you are, like you mentioned, those people who maybe you don't even remember, but they would say one thing, or, even if they're just nice to you for a second, like you're doing that for people all the time. And so to me, that's amazing. So I just think that's phenomenal.
It is, man. It is. And I imagine that because you, it like you said, it gives you a better understanding. It gives you empathy. It gives you a greater humility. Do you see a lot of professionals in your industry? Now you talked about the ones that will actually badmouth the clients. Are you seeing it's mostly because they've never been on that side of the fence that they have that standoffish attitude?
That's part of it. Yeah, it's definitely because they don't understand. Maybe they have their own judgments that are coming. But something, this is like, I guess, like one level deeper is a lot of them don't have the emotional tolerance to be with pain. And that's something that a lot of people I struggle with. A lot of people struggle with is when you're exposed to pain, the body wants to push it away and shut it down. So a big part of my practice is actually a mindfulness meditation practice, and that really helps me to just tolerate difficult emotions. And it happens with everybody. It's when difficult things come up, we get triggered, and sometimes we get mad at somebody. You know, have you ever met anyone who, like, when they mess something up, they immediately just blame somebody else? Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's just the thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's because they can't deal with maybe the guilt or the shame or the sadness that comes with that. It's not because they're trying to be mean, it's because they actually just can't tolerate it. So they try and like push that emotion onto somebody else. And when a professional does that, it can be very harmful, right? When a person does it, it's just annoying. But when it's professional, it can be very harmful. And burnout, at least in my opinion, comes from too much of that, emotion taking on and not being able to discharge it out, not being able to express it. That's part of why I paint. Like, that's why I do yoga. I also dance. It's part of why I dance. Like, it's all these things to like just move it through me, because I can't hold on to it all. It's too big. It's too big for anybody. It's too big for
you
me.
be twerking?
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
Yeah. I haven't known to twerk.
Yeah.
I will not demonstrate that on air, though, but I haven't known to.
We'll wait for the video on that one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a video that
Great.
somewhere. There is definitely evidence.
Wow, man! I'm blown away, man. This is phenomenal, man. I really understand how the challenge that you would have just in the industry. What, like, as you're going through this and you understand both sides of the fence, you understand the client side, you understand the professional psychotherapist side, and you're trying to move a person through life or help them be able to tolerate and be able to move through life. You have a huge job on your hands, man, and just dealing with just everybody. It's kind of like you're standing on the professional side saying they're not bad people over here. The clients that we deal with, they're great people and they deserve to be helped, but then they're trying their best, and man, it's I can imagine it's tough for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, you mentioned the outlets that you have, and you mentioned the painting, and you mentioned the art, and how are your days kind of structured as you're going through? Is it like you have one day where you're all work, and then the next day you're just like totally, you're vegged out, like I gotta go like paint all day? Or is it your days are broken up in halves? You do a couple of hour sessions and then you go detox somewhere. How are your days broken up, man?
Yeah, so it's more with the second one. Being in private practice has really helped me with that. When I was working in the agency, I was doing like 10, 12-hour days, and that was the road to burnout too. That was really intense. But now I'm able to work, like I do about 4 or 5 sessions a day. So that's like 4 or 5 hours of peak performance. Maybe I'll run a group. So that's another hour and a half to 2 hours. And then I make sure I do yoga every day. So that's like my like daily, just like get that stuff out of there. And then weekends I travel a lot. So I'll like, I'm in Colorado, so one of my favorite things to do is to go backpacking. So because I'm in a relationship with people all the time, like my solace is going where there's just nobody. It's just like me and like a couple of friends, and it's just nobody there. So that helps me charge up my batteries too.
How fun.
So that's a big one. So my weekends, I keep my boundaries pretty good with weekends. Of like no work on that. But what's cool about being in the private practice and social media world is that like the other hours of my day, like I'm like writing blogs, or I'm like on my Twitter, or I'm like looking at quotes, and like that stuff's fun for me. Like it's really fun. Or like I'm working on my website, or like looking at art pieces. So it's much varied. So I think I still do work like 10 to 12 hours a day, but because it's so varied, and because it's not all of it's at peak performance, I'm able to sustain the work that I'm doing with clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you start your private practice and now you get to dictate your own schedule, so to speak. I mean, your clients, of course, they have a big part of that because they're scheduling your time, and so you have to be there. But you can actually block off more time during the day. It makes life a little bit more on your terms, right? So you seem to have a little bit more flexibility. It makes you happier, right?
Yeah, it's like night and day. Yeah. Like night and day. I mean, if you remember like a year ago, I'd be like, just kind of like bugging out, gone. But yeah, like having my own schedule is really helpful. And yeah, like you said, I have to work when other people don't. So I do work a lot of evenings. You know, I do work a lot of lunch breaks, but that's fine because I have free time during the other parts of the day.
Yeah, I can relate. I like it that way.
Yeah, it's great.
You know, it is. It really is. There are some times that I don't work during the week. And then if I have a Saturday where I'm feeling, you know, motivated, then I work. So, and I'm taking notes. I'm taking in all of these things that you're saying, like yoga and maybe not painting, because Tyrrel might not like that, but because I'm so not artistic like that. But anyway,
if it's good, if it's like those, then yeah, I mean, go for it. I don't know what you come up with.
Technically good, right? Like, I don't really have a lot of good technical art skills.
Oh, but mine look like 3-year-old. You know, like how you draw birds, like big M's and stuff.
Perfect.
Not good. Not good. But I like hearing about the yoga and the meditation and stuff like that, because I deal with depression. And so like hearing things like that, they're just helpful to me. And, you know, Tyrrel can attest to this because going through it from beginning to now is so different. Like I've come such a long way, but still just thinking about, so, you know, hearing you say the things that you practice regularly and things like that is helpful to me. So, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. It becomes a maintenance thing. It becomes like, this is what just has to happen to sustain what's going on. Because I've been on the other side of that. I've been on one side, I've been on the other side, and I like this one a lot better. I know what structures need to have in place in order to make that happen.
Yeah, and it's a part of life. I mean, there's no bad in it, you know, and I think even coming through the path of recovery, because the truth is, you mentioned, Mark, the habits, everybody has something, you know, regardless of whether they want to admit it or not, you know, everybody has something that they need to recover from, you know, some addiction, some whatever, and just the nature of it. It could be, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of TV shows and all kinds of crazy stuff where they have, you know, My Strange Addiction, and, you know, whether it be, you know, drinking, alcohol, drugs, pornography, whatever it is, you know, there's something that everybody needs to recover from. But being able to realize that, hey, this is just the way life is. You know what I mean? This is my journey. This is my path from recovery, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, it's no good or bad. It's just the way it is. And this is what my life has to look like, you know. And so, you know, I kind of likened it to, you know, the person that, you know, was born with diabetes. You know what I mean? They you know, they didn't choose it. You know, it is what it is. You know, you can choose to be mad because you have to, you know, prick your finger every day, or you could just say, hey, that's the way it is. You know, I mean, what can you do about it? And so I appreciate the fact that you kind of have that standpoint and that perspective where, hey man, look, it's you know, it is what it is. You know, that's not to say anybody's any better than anybody else. It's just, it is what it is, you know. And so that's cool, man. I really think it is. I just want to throw that out there. Yeah, I think it's neat, man. Yeah. So here's a question for you. Now that you've started your own practice, and what kind of things did you have to do differently? Before, of course, you were working in a practice, you know, people paid you, they hired you, they dictated your time. Was it something that you started out, well, probably not, but was it something that you started out with saying, I know I want to open my own practice, and these are the things I'm going to have to learn in the meantime, like marketing, social media, and all of that kind of stuff?
No. I wish I had.
So what is that journey like for you, man? Going down that road of now being business owner, entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hell of a journey, and it's been fun. It's been like, so I moved to private practice following like a management shakeup at my past job, where some of the bosses got fired and some of us left, some of us stayed. You know, kind of white collar drama shit. I moved to private practice. I had 5 clients. That I was desperate and like didn't want to leave, because if they left, I was broke. So I had 5 clients that I like hung on to and just moved to an office and just opened up, you know, hung a shingle. And then I went around and I was like, okay, well, time to learn marketing. So I read a bunch of books. I talked to everyone I knew that did it. I mean, I really drove myself hard into it. And I ended up liking it. It was weird because it's something that would be cool to talk about with you, actually. Like, the fear of putting myself out there was definitely real for me. And the fear of like putting something on paper or having a website or being accountable, like that stuff was
real.
really hard
like, oh no.
to plow through. Yeah. But I had to get over it, like, out of necessity of like, all right, well, you know, it's either I do this or I'm poor, or, you know, it's like either like this or I have no job, or I, you know, I don't know, end up being at the mercy of another agency. You know, so I was at this really good tipping point where I could do it. And what's cool, you may have experienced with your clients, is like when I put myself out there, like on Twitter and Facebook and all the other social medias, I got like way more overwhelmingly positive reinforcement than I ever expected. People were like, "Oh, you're doing the good work. Like, keep fighting the good fight. Like, keep kicking ass." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's great." You know, like of course there's like trolls and like haters and like, you know, like phishing scams, but for the most part, people are like really, really supportive of it. And I did not think that was what's going to happen.
Wow, it is amazing. I'm not a self promoter, which I imagine you're not as well, because you come from these humble backgrounds and these humble beginnings, and you come through your own path, and you know, now you're here and you're just saying, hey, I just want to help people. You know, I'm not a self promoter. I'm not, you know, I'm not desiring to be on a stage or anything. But now you got to eat. So now you have to market yourself. And so I feel you, man. It's just like, hey, I just want to help people, but this is kind of like a necessary part in not only helping people but survival at the same time. But it's a win-win, because the more people you help, you know, the more money you make. So that's a great trade-off, you know. But then it does take you out of your comfort zone. So now you have to, you know, you jump into marketing, you jump into I've got to be this not self-promoter, but I have to be out front. You know, that's my responsibility to my business, drive my business. I have to be out front. And now you have to carve out your space in the marketplace, and you have to come out with your angle and what's your voice. And so what is your angle when it comes to mental health, and what's the message that you're trying to get out there as far as how you frame the stories and tell the story of the clients? What's the big thing that you're trying to put out there?
I guess the big thing is just liberation. It's just freedom. If I get a little deep in a moment, but like the main thing that I railed against in my personal life and what I see in professional life is just culture of fear. You know, like you're sitting on a bus, right, and you like can't look at, or at least I guess I have trouble looking at the person across from me on the bus. Like there's like so much fear there, you know. Like I bump into someone in the hallway, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, like sorry I touched you," you know. And it's like there's so much fear there. And I used to be like, I used to be like really overweight, like really shy kid, and I had to plow through a lot of that and go through a lot of that to really change. And I see it just around. I see just how much fear kind of keeps people down. And it's the thing of like, and marketing the same way. It's like a lot of this fear is in our heads. A lot of this fear is fear of judgment or fear of, you know, failure. And the idea is that like try it, like try putting yourself out there. Try it. If it sucks, great, go back home. But a lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times it's actually like really good. So my main message is like trying to help clients seek freedom, seek liberation by getting over their fears, by getting over what holds them back. Because what's interesting about mental health is that most of our problems are in our heads. And some people like take that negatively. They're like, "Oh, I guess I'm just fucked up. I guess I'm just broken up here." But it's like, no, it means you can fix it. It means like it's here.
Right.
You know, it's not an oppressive force. It's something that, you know, you probably had a good reason for having. Right. A lot of these old defenses, these old habits that you talk about, like we had really good reasons for developing them in childhood. Like we did them to take care of ourselves, to protect ourselves, to entertain ourselves, whatever it was. And they just no longer serve us. We never looked at them. We never looked at them until we became older. And some people never look at them, and they do the same thing. It's just like on repeat. So breaking through the fear and breaking into a place of freedom is kind of what I hope to promote to my clients. And that frame, once people feel more free, then they don't need to use substances, right? Then their mental illness isn't so crippling anymore. They're not so afraid of it anymore. You know, there's relationship problems, there's social problems. They're able to finally have meaningful conversations with their loved ones and their partners. Awesome. You know?
Don't we, Dave?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I don't know what she said, but I'm agreeing.
I was saying that we do, like, you're able to have better conversations, he was saying, with your loved ones and stuff. And I was like, wow, we do. So, because I used to like really like tear him up. So anyway.
It's a challenge. I mean, that's the nature of it. You know, it's a challenge, you know, and you know, I think it's great to have a support system and really find out. I mean, you got to go through a lot of weeds before you find the good stuff, you know, and being a person that is in recovery, or being the person that is looking for help or whatever, you know, you end up, you know, you want help. And I'm saying this from my perspective, you know, you want help, and you don't know who's really in your corner, and you don't know who, and so as you're reaching out to people, it's just kind of like a numbers thing, to where you reach out and then you find out that this person is not the right person, you know, and they bash you and they talk about you, and then you say, okay, well, I checked them off my list. And you got to go through all of this, you know, you got to go through all these weeds until you really find people that are in your corner, you know, and people that can say, hey, I understand, or even though I don't understand, I love you enough to try to figure this thing out and make it work. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, I think that's all you can look for. You know,
and that's the reality, is that it is a numbers game. That it does take a lot of, like, you gotta roll the dice, and you're gonna fail a lot. Like, you're gonna like just hit numbers that no one gives a shit about. But sometimes you hit double sixes and you just win. Sometimes you hit double ones and you just really lose. But all you can do is keep rolling that dice and keep trying to put yourself out there. But a good example is Twitter. Like, Twitter is like the best example of this whole thing. Well, like, you just roll the dice so many times, and I get messages from all kinds of people. Like, sometimes, like, you find folks and it's double sixes, and I'm like, awesome, let's move forward with this opportunity. Sometimes it's just like people that try to convince me that they've seen aliens, right? Or like, you know, kind of like illegal money, you know, or like whatever it is. And it's like, that whole process has been really fun for me in a way, because it is just like following up and just seeing where opportunities go, and just attacking everything, like following up on everything, and just being like, okay, cool, let's just see where this goes. Seeing it as a game, taking that step back, has been cool. And Twitter's probably an easy way to do it, but yeah, doing it in your personal life, that's what I help clients to do. It's like, yeah, maybe the friends you were born around aren't your best friends. That's fine. There's like 6 billion people on this planet. You can find people that love and support you. You know, it's okay. It's okay to cut off friendships. That's hard for a lot of people. There's a lot of people struggling with addiction. It's hard to cut off friendships, but most of the people that I work with end up having to separate out from that friend group, because there's that friend group that kind of breeds addiction, or that, you know, is focused around drug use. And one of the last steps, and one of the hardest steps, is for them to actually separate out and find a new group. And a lot of the times, it's not even because they're attached to this group. It's because they're afraid of a new group. They're afraid, all the same stuff from high school, right? So we all carry it. We're afraid to be accepted, afraid to fit in, afraid to be alone.
Yeah, they may reject me. You know, they might think I'm strange, or
Same thing. Same thing with dating, right? Like, you just got to get out there and keep dating. It's an important position. You got to interview a lot of candidates, you know? Like, it's like the same thing. And that's hard for a lot of people. It's hard for people to go through that failure, go through that rejection.
Yeah. Yeah, and we learned last week, we had a great guest, Deborah Thomas, and she's the statistician, but she was talking about it used to be that the number one public fear was public speaking, you know, and now it's changed, and now instead of public speaking, it's the fear of rejection. And so now that's, and I thought it was so funny, but it makes sense because of social media and because of the way people interact now, because it, you know, it used to be, you know, somebody just knock on your door and you say, hey, who is it? And you open the door and it's Mark, and you say, hey man, come on in. It's great to see you. But nowadays, if somebody knocks on your door, you're like, hey, you know, who's that at the door? You know what I mean? Like,
everybody hide.
Right. You know, you got your gun and you're behind your back, you know, And right. And so, you know, social media now, you know, people used to call during the holidays, you know, everybody passed the phone to grandma and you call everybody, and now everybody's just texting, you know, birthdays, happy birthday, you know, there's a text instead of a phone call. And so people have just, I think technology and just socially, people have become more standoffish, and that personal relationship, they've become more distant. And so now, you know, when you're dealing with psychotherapy, you're dealing with clients, there's I guess it's compounded now because of society and the way technology has crippled us in the way of social interaction. You know, it's like we say social, but it's not physically social. It's you know, it's technologically social. And so now, you know, where you might have had a little easier challenge with in coaxing someone or encouraging them to be physically social, now it's compounded because of technology, man. It makes it. I can imagine that it's tough. Do you see it in that? Do you see that in as you're dealing with clients? It's kind of extra hard to get them to be physically social.
Has, instead of communication, we just do information exchange, right? It's like, here's my little like data point. Okay, cool, great. Okay, here's my little thing back. And that pause is, I think there's like a lot of things lost in that pause, because you get a chance to choose how you want to respond, choose how you want to present yourself. You know, I've had the experience of like, say, getting a text message from someone and like waiting, like you're being like staring at the screen for like an hour of like, okay, what am I gonna say? You know, like usually a dating romantic type thing, but like that kind of destroys the expression process, right? And expression is where vulnerability comes up. Is when we actually surprise ourselves by what we say. Is when we're just talking like, oh, okay, I never thought of it that way. Like that's what therapy does, is it helps people express themselves. That's what art does, dance does, same kind of thing. It's like expressing ourselves and surprising ourselves by what comes out. And if we cut off that experience, we lose that muscle, just like you're saying. We lose the ability to truly express ourselves.
Wow.
So it's just like communicate. It's just information exchange. So I see a lot, especially with the younger generations. I work with a lot of like teenagers. And let me tell you, man, they get messed up by what happens on Facebook. You know, like if they post
they take it to heart.
It's like a real thing. Like they really get hurt over that. They're like, I tried really hard and I tried to get approval, and you know, and I only got 15 likes or whatever. You know, that hurts them. And it's weird because I think once and probably forever, like validation is quantified. Like the like button is a quantum. Even this thing, right? Like this is that, right? Like it quantifies how much approval you get, and that's crazy if you think about it, right? It's like a scoring system, like a voting system. That of course you have people that are really good at it, people that are really bad at it, but the fact that it's visible, I think, really hurts a lot of people's feelings and really like gives them weird thoughts about what the world is like. You know?
Yeah, I would say not even just teenagers. You know, we're in this game, so we talk to people all the time, and it's an issue. You know, because they, you know, well, I didn't get as many views, and I didn't, you know, and I mean, yeah, it's like us being here now, and we're having this awesome conversation, but like, where are all the people at? Like, you know, like it's just one of those number kind of things, you know? And no, it totally doesn't matter. And that's what I mean. Like, we understand that, and we understand that, you know, having the information is valuable because we can reuse it and you know, help a lot of people. But there will be people who are thrown by that, who, you know, like it will just totally ruin their entire day, you know? And it really is unfortunate. It is. It's like, it can be really uplifting and helpful when you get that acceptance and you have a lot of people respond positively to something you're doing. But at the same time, it can tear you down really quickly if you don't get the response that you want. And, you know, teenagers and tweens and stuff like that, they're not developed to the point where they can separate, you know, what that actually means. And to me, like, that's the sad part, you know. And there are some adults, I mean, I'm not even just going to say the, you know, younger people, because there are adults who can't separate that. I'm still looking for this validation some kind of way. And, you know, not everybody is, you know, ballsy enough to say, like, well, I'm just going to say what I want to say. And, you know, either somebody likes it or they don't, you know.
Right.
I mean, I do that, but everybody doesn't do that. And yeah, I think that's a really valid point, because from the time that they were born, this is the world that they've been in. You know, most adults, or if you're our age or, you know, old like Tyrrel, then you grew into this.
That's tired.
Seriously, he's only 2 years older than me. It's not even
gonna keep you out of your seat.
But you know, we grew into it, so it doesn't have as much weight, I guess I would say. But if you're born with it, And, from the time that you're, 10, you're looking over the shoulder at mom and dad's Facebook and understanding what all this means. And you want people to accept you. And, it's like you grew up with that. So if you continue to be in that, in that social media world, and you don't get what you want from the things that you put out, then that's a huge rejection, because that's all you know of being social. Yeah. Like, they'll be in the same room and be, texting each other. Yeah. Like, okay, Mark, we have 6 kids. Okay. So, but like they can be in the same room and they're like, they don't talk, they're texting each other.
Right.
Or, they're, they might share something, but it's like, nobody's talking. Nobody is. So they put so much of their validation in those things. And it's.
Yeah, I think it's a great concept, Mark. I always said that social media was very egocentric. But because everybody's look at me, but the switch and the twist that I just got was this quantifiable acceptance that you just mentioned, and it kind of changes a little. It changes my thought a little bit, and it's not so much that maybe it's not so much that people are ego driven, as in look at me, but this is the way that they validate themselves. This is their social acceptance. This is the way that they. This is their way of finding their self-worth and finding friends. This is the new way of meeting people, is online, man. Mark, how do you combat all of that? How do you deal with all of that? Wow.
Self-worth. Because the thing is, like, all these things, like when you do this, when you're so dependent on what other people think and what they like and what they do, you're giving away all your power to them. Right? Because like whether or not they like you is determining your internal state. You don't have any control of that anymore. And that's a prison. Like that's really a prison. And what happens, to respond to Gina a little bit, like what happens with these people, I see with young people a lot is, and let me just see how to phrase this. Because you have to do this in marketing, which is interesting. But for people, when they throw something out there, right? And say it's like a picture of them, say it's a picture of them smoking weed, right? And they get like 100 likes, right? Mm-hmm. And then throw a picture of them like riding a horse, and they get like 5 likes, right?
What's that tell you?
It's gonna be like, oh, people like weed more than like horses. I'm gonna smoke more weed and ride less horses. And like whether or not they're aware of that, that's kind of what goes on in their head. And they're not at fault for that. That's how the teenage brain works. But that can become such a horrible pattern of taking away the power and defining themselves based on what the people want. In marketing, you have to do that, right? You have to do analytics and see what's effective and see what's not effective. But the thing that I've been taking, and if you look at my website, I have pretty intense paintings on there, because I've found in my practice, in my life, if I'm passionate about anything, then it gets through to the right people. Like, as long as I'm excited, people pick up on my excitement, pick up my passion, and that's what goes through. But that's hard. Like, I didn't have that. Like, I was very shy. I was, like, very introverted, very suppressed. And I had to learn that through a lot of trial and error and a lot of, like, struggle and a lot of disappointment and rejection. And I still go through that. I mean, I still, like, struggle trying to meet people, or I struggle trying to, like, put myself out there and be like, whoa, what are you talking about? I don't want to talk about that. But that's okay, because there's 6 billion people out there. So it's the idea of like helping people first discover who they are themselves, which people don't really get a chance to do. We very rarely ask them, like, who are you? Like, what do you really like? What are you into? Especially teenagers. Teenagers really don't get their voice heard a lot. Be like, why do you, like, what's up with you? What's your day like? What do you really like? Joining their world, like if they like playing a video game, like go play the video game with them. If they like, reading a book, like read a chapter of the book with them. Like really just getting in there and being like, cool, that's what you're into. Awesome. Let me validate that, instead of you trying to be what I'm into, So boosting up who they truly are, no matter what, literally no matter what. And that's where I could get out of my own way, because I have my own judgments about what's good and bad, obviously, but for them, no matter what. And then actually training them to love themselves, to love that part of themselves. And in therapy, we're trained to actually like love our clients, like not be in love with them, but to actually bring compassion to those places, to the places that they were afraid of that they were ashamed of, to be like, look, this place deserves love too. Even if you hate it, I'm here to love it. And one day you're going to love it too. That's kind of like how that works.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it works.
Wow.
It's the tried and true method.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's
as a
that's
parent,
great,
that's what you hope that you're doing, you know.
Right.
But what you said, you know, it is helpful because it just reminds you that, you know, you don't want to change their perspective or change who they are just because you're not comfortable with it, you know.
Right.
If it's not dangerous, if it's not well, yeah, pretty much that's it. If it's not dangerous to them, and it's legal and all that stuff, then there's nothing wrong with, you know, okay, I'll watch this show with my daughter, even though like it's totally not my thing. But that as a parent, I totally get that. I can totally appreciate that, and you know, think about how different my life might have been if I had that support as a child. My parents were great, but they were my parents. And, you know, so if you're weird, they're going to tell you. If they're fat, you know, they're going to let you know you're fat. And and those are things that you have to outgrow, you know. And had it been that they understood those things that, you know, hopefully a lot of parents understand now, then, you know, children won't have to take these years to fix themselves, you know. I really, you're pretty cool, Mark.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, like a lot of the things that our parents tell us, or that, you know, our, you know, kindergarten friends make fun of us for, they stay in there, because when we're little kids, like we're like little sponges. So
That's right.
We just, it gets in there, and again, the work of therapy is learning what those things are, and actually not like destroying them, but actually like loving them and bringing this like light of compassion to that, of being like, look, that little kid was hurt. What does he need now? Like, can you talk to him or her now? Can you resource him or her now and heal that part of yourself to move on? Because I think most people, almost everyone I've worked with, is surprised that things from like kindergarten through elementary school still affect them now to this day.
Oh my gosh.
And then
why is it always the bad stuff?
Yeah,
like it's not.
Yeah. Well, because the brain is a protective organism. The brain wants to protect us. So it's like, okay, well, that thing was really bad. Like, I don't want to ever feel that again. And when we're a kid, even things that are like, you know, really silly feel really, really bad, right? So the brain defends against that, right? Like a lot of irrational fears are like that. You know, you have like a fear of riding a bike because maybe you had a bike accident when you were 5. Maybe you didn't even get hurt, right? But maybe that was the most intense thing that's ever happened to you up until that point. And until you go back and talk about what happened, that fear is going to continue, because the brain is trying to protect you. It actually does care about you. It just does it in a really kind of inefficient way.
That is wild.
It just cuts things off.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing. Mark, listen, dude, we gotta have some more conversations, man. This is crazy. I don't want to take up your whole day, but I am so delighted that you decided to hang out with us, man. I am a fan of a lot of things, Mark, right now. I'm still, I think I don't want to steal your paintings, man, but I think I at least need a copy of that one, man, because that painting is, I don't know how you can do it, man. You take it to Staples and scan it and email it to me. I don't know, but that painting is phenomenal, man. I would love to get at least a picture of that or something, but yeah, man, I am just so fascinated. Look, she'll tell you, I'm totally serious. But yeah, man,
get out there. You can go to a craft store. You can buy a canvas and a set of basic paints for like $25.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So. All right, dude. So that. Okay. All right. So you got me, Mark. So that's my challenge. All right. I'm gonna paint something. Yeah. Just man. Listen. This is bananas, man. I'm having the time of my life, Mark. I really, man. I am so excited. Just about your journey, where you've come from, what you're doing now. I'm excited to see that you're owning your own domain there, starting your business, and now You're moving towards a happier life, man. I'm very, very excited for you. I really am. And so in going, I want you to make sure Gene is typing your website over there. I want you to let everybody know how they can get in touch with you.
The best way to go to that website down there. mark-ashley.com, just my name. All the social media links are at the bottom. So there's Facebook, there's Twitter. Those are the main ones that I use, LinkedIn. The best way to do it is just to send me a message, email me. You can call me. It's like I'm pretty open to stuff. I do post a blog every Sunday with my thoughts that people can read and comment on. And on Facebook, I post like a little picture and a little micro blog. There's actually quite a bit of engagement, which is pretty cool, where people are talking to each other and supporting each other. And I'm working on building a community over there on the Facebook page of people wanting to talk about being free and talking about the kind of struggles that they're going through. Get out there.
Yeah. Now, Mark, do you specialize in you deal with addictions and all of that kind of stuff, so it's not really a specialty, as in you only deal with certain kinds of addiction. But do they have to be local to you in order for somebody to get help from you, or
if they want therapy, then they do have to be local. So I'm in Boulder, Colorado. So anywhere in Colorado, if you can make it to Boulder, then you can work with me. But what I've been doing for people on Twitter is actually accessing my networks and finding other people therapists. So if you are struggling with something, or you really can't do what I'm saying, I am pretty well resourced in therapists around the world even. So if you want a therapist, let me know and I'll help you on that journey to find someone that can help you. There's a lot of us out there, and there's a lot of really good therapists out there.
There you go.
So I've been doing that for a lot of people, and that's been rewarding too.
Well, that's great, man. I really am a fan of people that do good, and therefore, I'm a fan of all things Mark. Besides, Mark, check this out, man. Not only do you do good out there, but you're a sci-fi, a fantasy fanatic. You paint awesome stuff, and you just got an awesome story, man. So again, Mark, I really enjoyed it. Hopefully, we can get you back in a couple of months to see how you're progressing and what's going on in
I would love to
your business and all of that great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Gene, do you have anything before we let this wonderful guy off the hook for tonight?
Thank you again for first responding to my messages and going back and forth with me and all that stuff, and the bad phone calls and but I'm so thankful that you chose to come talk to us. When I was looking at the things that you did and like your background and stuff, I was already excited because I care about those things. But it's nothing compared to actually having you here and listening to your perspective on things. And it makes so much sense. And the fact that, if people can connect to you, you can really help a lot of people. And I just think that's amazing that you didn't just, shrivel up and sit down on, the things that have happened in your life. Like, you are a great example of how you can totally turn things around and give that back to society, And so, I think that's amazing. And I'm so glad that you came to just chat with us. And I think it's awesome.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'd love to do it again. It's been a pleasure. It's been great.
Yeah. So man, listen, we're gonna say goodnight, but we will see you definitely around the interweb. We'll catch you on Twitter and we'll be talking to you. Yeah, man, this has been great. So thanks so much, Mark. I hope you have a great night, man.
You know it.
All right, man. Take care. Bye-bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that was Mark Azule, and feel free to connect with him. Check out his website and all of that great stuff. And I hope you had a good time right here. We'll see you next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for another great Boost Your Biz, where we're going to help you grow your business. Take care. Have a great night.